Hello, I'm Keith Johnston from Cultivating Leadership. With the onset or the spread of coronavirus around the world, many people are being asked to work from home, and often it's quite difficult to run meetings virtually with people spread out in different settings. And we at Cultivating Leadership have a lot of experience within our own organisation, because we're a global firm, of running meetings virtually, and we think we do it pretty well. I've had the privilege of leading meetings in Cultivating Leadership and other international organisations, and so we're going to put together a couple of quick videos. Firstly, this first one will talk about how people can deal with complex challenges when they meet together. And then there'll be a second video which will talk more specifically about what you might do in virtual meetings that is different from what you might do when you're all together in the room. So how do we work with complex challenges? And what do I mean by a complex challenge? Well, a complex challenge is one where there are so many variables that there is no right answer to be found, that we can't predict how the system is going to work itself out. And it might have patterns, but it's not predictable. This is in comparison with other circumstances where we can work out what is likely to happen, and we can predict what's going to happen. Now, when it comes to meetings, Sam Kainer has quite a useful little model where he talks about how, in essence, we start the meeting and we diverge, our thinking diverges, it spreads out like this, and then we try and bring it together, we try and converge on an appropriate decision. And he points out that often we move from divergence to convergence very quickly to try and nail something down, to nail it down quickly and move on. And part of the challenge in that is, in lots of circumstances, by nailing it down quickly, we come to a point that nobody's really satisfied with. It doesn't really deal with the whole spectrum of possibilities or to look at what might be happening, and as a consequence we have to go back and make it again and again and again. Now this pattern is different depending on whether we're in a predictable situation or whether we're in a complex situation. What we're trying to do in a predictable situation, or one that could be predictable, what we might call complicated, is that we're here and we're trying to go to what we would call a destination. So we're aiming to reach a destination, and we can work out what that destination is, and then we can plan backwards a series of milestones to get there. And if we can have reasonable confidence about that destination, that's a really effective way to be planning our work. And often we can get a lot of gains from attending to those milestones and accounting how successful we've been. But in complexity, the circumstances are rather different. We can't know what the destination is because there are too many variables. And so in complexity, what instead we're looking to do is we're looking to identify a direction. And it's a general direction. We want to achieve certain outcomes, we want to progress in that direction, but we really have to just experiment and work things out as we go along, and over time we learn more, we try stuff out, and we can take things forward. This difference between, in the complicated realm, trying to work to a destination, and in the complex realm, trying to work to a general direction, changes the way we approach things when we're meeting. When we're meeting in the complicated realm, we are really trying to converge much more rapidly. We are trying to kind of hold things together, to bring things to a conclusion, and it's a pattern of convergence. We're focusing on convergence, and in our meetings, we're trying to bring matters to a decision point and to a convergence. In the complex domain, we're actually trying to stay divergent. In complexity, what we need is a multiplicity of perspectives, and we need to be trying different things out. To that end, we want to actually hold things. If you're running a meeting in complexity, you want to be holding things in a more open space, a more exploratory way, and enabling the group to work out what their differences are, not to fix those differences, but to hold those differences and to work out a range of possibilities, try things out and learn from them. It's quite a different way of operating, and as leaders in trying to set up meetings, it really helps to be able to carry both those things and to be able to move the group backwards and forwards to explore when we need to explore, and to drive towards a decision when we need to drive towards a decision. So what might we do when we're meeting in complexity, and what useful things can we offer as to how we might set things up? Okay, well, the first thing that we suggest is what we call setting the compass. It's really helpful to be clear about what's the direction that you're going in, and in heading in that direction, can we check back as to how we're going? The direction could be an outcome. The direction also could be a decision process. To do that, to have those discussions, the second thing that we talk about is the value of listening to learn. Not listening to win or to fix, but listening to really understand what the other people are saying, what the thinking is behind that, and then be able to identify where our differences might be. To that end, a third valuable thing to focus on in meetings in complexity is what we would call attend to assumptions. A whole lot of our differences arise because we make different assumptions about things. We look at the same data and we make very different assumptions. And if we can identify what some of those different assumptions are, and that you're assuming that X equals Y, and that's why I put the equal sign here, and I'm assuming that in fact X equals V, and we've got a very different circumstance. So attending to assumptions helps us tease out what is the nature of a difference. Now, difference is a thing that in lots of meetings we try and sort out. We try and either paper over because we want to like each other, or we try and resolve quite quickly. In complexity, difference is your friend. And so one of the things that we emphasize in complexity is, can we disagree to develop? Right? Can we take our different perspectives and use those as the basis to build something else, or even to hold them apart in a way that we can then experiment on these two different directions or poles or streams, and can we try things out, and can we learn from that so that we can actually end up with a better set of options and a bigger set of options. And then finally, one of the other thing that we would stress in meeting in complexity is what we call rough is ready. Just like this drawing, what we want to do is to avoid the situation where in preparation for the meeting, people are developing the perfect slide deck or they're developing detailed papers. What we want to do is to be able to engage with each other, and the more that we can bring the kind of roughness of possibilities into the meeting, not to have perfection, but to be learning from things as we go along, the stronger that we will be and the better kinds of options we can develop. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope that's useful. And then we might move over and you could take a look at our second video, which is, if we're having to do this virtually, what things might we think about?